Okay, so we have notes 3.2, which is about increase, decrease, and constant. So the new vocab we used yesterday was range, which is the bottomest to the toppest using the y-axis numbers. The domain is the leftist to the rightest using the x-axis numbers. Those are vocab words we learned yesterday. So today we have increased intervals, and this is when we see the graph going up, and this is from left to right. And if it's from left to right, note over here that we're using the x-axis. In decrease, I mean something's going down, so we're going down. And again, we're going down from left to right, which means we're using that x-axis. And then lastly, if something's constant, this is when we see the graph is flat, like flat feet. And this is, again, going from left to right. And that is still using the x-axis. So the only time we are going to use the y-axis is with the range. That is the only time we use the y. Okay? Now, increase, decrease, constant, these are all like the domain. It's like chunks, broken chunks of the domain. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have to use 5 different colors that you're going to use. So like for me, I'm using purple for domain. So I'm going to box in domain in purple. Okay? And this domain, remember, is going from left to right, which means we use the x-axis. These little side notes I write here are reminders of what I'm going, where I'm going, how I'm looking, and which x-axis numbers I'm looking for. So the leftist side is over here, and looking at that x-axis, that's a -10. The right side is over here, and that is a 9 on the x-axis. So I'm going from -10 to 9. 10 has a closed bracket because it's a closed dot. The 9 is an open bracket because we have an open dot. Next up, we have the range. So I'm going to use orange for range. And remember, range is going from the bottom to the top, and we use the y-axis. It's the only one. So the bottomest part of the graph, the bottomest y value is the -4. The toppest y value is 6. So we have -4 to 6. Both of these are brackets. The -4 is a closed bracket because it's a closed dot. The 6 is a closed bracket because it's part of the line. Next we have increasing. So increasing, I'm going to use green. And remember, increasing is when our graph is going up from left to right, which means we're using the x-axis numbers. So looking at my graph here, starting from the left, this first chunk is going to be increasing because it is going up from left to right. See how my pencil is going upwards? So what is the leftist number of this chunk? It is a 10. What is the rightest number, x number for this chunk? It is a 2. So that means I am increasing from -10 to 2. -10 is a closed bracket because it's a closed dot. 2 is a -2, Ms. Rawolf, is a closed bracket because it's part of the line. Next up, we are going to do decreasing, which I'll do in pink. So looking at my sections here, the next section is not a decrease, but this section here is a decrease because as I go from the left to the right, see how my pencil is going down? So that's a decrease. So when I look at this, the leftist number is 4, the rightest number is a 9. So when I write out my interval notation, I have 4 to 9. 4 gets a closed bracket because it's part of the line. 9 is an open bracket because of the open dot. Last up is constant. So constant I'm going to do in blue. And remember, constant is flat from left to right, like Miss Rawolf's feet, which means we're using the x-axis. And the only flat part is this last little bit. The leftist x number of this flat part is the negative 2. The rightest x value for the flat part is 4. So negative 2 to 4. And they both have square brackets because they are both part of the line. Now let's look at 2, where we might have multiples of something. Okay, so here we go. I use purple for domain. That's just how I roll. And again, domain is left to right, all of the left to right using the x-axis. So the leftist part of my graph, that x value is a negative 9. The rightist part of my graph, that x value is an 8. So negative 9 to 8. Negative 9 is going to have an open bracket because there's an open dot. 8 is going to have a closed bracket because it is a closed dot. Now we're going to do range. And again, range is bottom to top. And remember, we're using y's. So looking at my range here, the bottomest part, the bottomest y is this negative 5. The toppest y is the 8. So we have negative 5 to 8. Negative 5 is a closed bracket because it is a part of the line. 8 is a closed bracket because it is a closed dot. Next we have increase. So we're looking at where the graph goes up from left to right, which means we're using that x-axis still. So starting at the leftist chunk. This leftist chunk is going up from left to right. So I'm going to shade that in my increase color. And you should do this too. The leftist number is a negative 9. The rightist x number is negative 7. So we're going from negative 9 to negative 7. Negative 9 is an open bracket. Negative 7 is a closed bracket because it is part of the line. The next chunk we have is going down from left to right, so that is not going up. The next chunk is going up, so I'm going to shade that in my increase color, which in this case is green. Looking at the leftist x value for this chunk, it is a negative 3. Looking at the the x value, the right side is a 1. So negative 3 to 1. Closed brackets because they are both part of the line. Now be careful. A lot of students, when they go from left to right, they tried to use this negative 5. No, no, no. That's a y-axis. We want to use x-axes, okay? Looking at the next chunk here, that is not going up, but the last chunk is going up. So I'm going to color that in my increase color. The x on the left is a 5. The x on the right is an 8. So I'm going from 5 to 8, and these are closed brackets because the 5 is on the line and the 8 is a dot. All right, next up we have the decrease, which is where when we are going down from left to right, and we're looking at the x-axis. So going down is this chunk right here. It's the only one that's going down. The x value is a negative 7 on the left. The x value is a negative 3 on the right. So we got negative 7 to negative 3. Close the brackets. The constant in this one is this flat piece right here. Remember, it's a 1 and a 5. So it goes from 1 to 5. 1 to 5. Both are square brackets. And again, constants, I forgot to write this, are flat from left to right and still using that x-axis. Only the range uses the y. Okay, why don't you guys try 3 on your own and let's see if we get the same answer. So please give it a go. All right, so here's the answers for number 3. So the domain goes from negative 9 on the left side to infinity on the right side. Okay, there's an arrow there, so it's infinity. The range, the bottom is a negative 10. The top is the 1. Increasing has 2 parts. So we're increasing on this section, which is negative 9 to negative 7. The second part is 3 to 6. Decrease is the pink parts. So the first pink part is negative 7 to negative 3. The second pink part is 1 to 3. Last up, we have the constant 4. We have 2 constants. Here's the first one, going from -3 to 1. And the second one goes from -6 to an arrow, which means infinity. So that's the end of our notes. Please do homework 3.2. It's only 2 problems, and I'll see you guys next time.